Hey, not too bad. Thanks for having me on tonight.
I figured this would be a good episode to get you on.
Hey, no. This is an interesting topic, and I think that we ought to maybe piss off a lot of people tonight.
That's the plan.
There's a little windstorm.
Sorry about that. Before the break, I kind of got a little Alex Jones on everybody.
That's funny.
Well, I mean, it doesn't surprise me that there are still a lot of people out there who believe that the Earth is flat. And not because they belong to the Flat Earth Society or even think about it. They just really have no idea on how stuff works. I'm trying to think. There was one of the women on, I think it was The View, actually. I think, and I may be mistaken, but I think that she was actually surprised. I can't, it wasn't the obvious one. It wasn't like ultra conservative Republican lady. This one was an African American actress, but she actually was surprised to hear, that the sun, I think, didn't that it was the Earth that rotated, and that the sun wasn't actually moving around the Earth.
Oh, wow.
So I mean, it doesn't surprise me that there are a lot of people who wouldn't believe that the Earth was flat. But then again, I mean, you've got the people who they have a religious agenda to push. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where you're getting a lot of these flat Earth proponents. A lot of them are in the same ilk of the people as the people who believe, that God, had a magic wand and created the Earth in 6 days, 6,000 years ago, and that all the dinosaurs and everything just magically appeared on the planet, and that Jesus, when he was a kid, wrestled mammoths and all that. So now everyone knows where I'm coming from tonight.
Yeah.
I believe in the flat Earth.
Wow, I don't get it.
If somebody just tuned in right when I said that last statement, they'd be like, what the hell? Did you hear that? Tim Swartz said he believed in the flat Earth. What the?
Oh, man.
We do invite any flat earthers that do want to call in. Go ahead, not now. Give us a little bit here, but yes, here sometime we'll give you the cue when to call in. We'd love you to call in. We'd like to just maybe pick your brain. I don't know. But anyway, I had to throw that out there.
I would love, to have, a conversation, with somebody like that, and just, I'm not going to go and make fun of you at first.
Yeah. Oh, we'll hold off as long as we can. We'll keep it respectful.
That's right. Well, yeah. I mean, I tell you something. Of course, being in the line of work that I am in, I try to approach stuff like this with an open mind. But then again, I've been a journalist for many, many years, and of course, our main tenet is verify, verify, verify. So I mean, you could come to me and and tell me that your refrigerator is talking in the voice of your dead Aunt Martha, and like, hey, yeah, I'll be more than willing, to listen to you, but I want to come over and talk to your refrigerator. And so, I mean, it's the same way when it comes to the flat Earth believers. Let's hear what you have to say.
Me? I'm sorry. I was just letting my cat in the door.
No, what the flat earthers have to say.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I would love it. I would love it. They're not going to be brave enough. I just, but if they do, I would respect them just for being brave enough. That alone, they'd have my respect.
Well, I was listening to you discuss the one gentleman, Eric.
Yeah.
That you were having conversations, through what was it on his Facebook page or something along those lines, and like a lot of other people that I've run into in situations like that, they don't want to hear a dissenting opinion. I mean, they don't want to have a discussion. If you bring up something that requires a discussion, there's like, oh well, you're cut off.
Yep.
That's just like, well, now that's really a poor attitude to try to get your idea out there. If you sincerely believe in your idea, then you should be open for discussion.
Yeah.
And not just immediately say, oh, well, since you're not agreeing exactly with what I believe in, I'm going to cut you off.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I always try to tell people I'd rather have a mind open by wonder than one closed by belief. So I just tell people, I don't have no beliefs. I just have thoughts about things. And
that's right.
Be gentle with your responses and show some kindness. It's not that hard. You can have some good discussions that way.
Michael, you're way too nice.
Well, I mean, I really do. I mean, I agree with what Michael has to say there, because I mean, face it, when it comes to a lot of the weird stuff that I have looked into over the years, I mean, I've dealt with people who just, I mean, without doing any kind of research or investigation of their own, are either just outright skeptics or outright believers, and both of those categories to me just kind of amazes me, because like Michael said, I mean, I'm not a believer in anything, because if you believe in something too strongly, then that closes your mind to new evidence that may come through. I mean, it used to be that people believed really, really strongly that rocks couldn't fall from the sky, and Thomas Jefferson. I mean, there was a case where a farmer actually saw, like a meteorite come down and land in his field. And Thomas Jefferson basically just said, I'd sooner believe that this farmer was crazy than to believe that rocks could fall from the sky. And I mean, he just washed his hands on the matter completely without really looking into it. So I mean, unless somebody is willing to go the full course, on a subject, then, don't get up on your soapbox, and start preaching either or, until you know for sure what you're talking about.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much to be said about this, really.
Well,
that
is kind of crazy. There's people like that. But I think it's also alarming how people don't take the time and figure out how the Earth is round. Do you see the average person doing that? So, I mean, I guess, Tim, what's a good classical example of how the Earth is round?
a good classical example of how the Earth is round?
Like the classical
Well,
one.
like you go back to a lot of the old religious writings and stuff. Now this is more along the lines of like why people thought that the Earth was flat. You had Babylonian texts who believed that the Earth actually floated on a vast ocean, and this was then picked up by the Israelis, the ancient Hebrews, and you see this in the Old Testament and in the Talmud, where they talk about the Earth as being a flat disk floating on water beneath an arched firmament separating it from the heavens. And so this was, this came from, like ancient Mesopotamia, Babylonia, places like that, and was carried on then by the societies that that these civilizations conquered and enslaved. And that's where we get a lot of our Old Testament was from the mythologies of these civilizations that actually enslaved the ancient Hebrews. But some of the Greek philosophers actually started suggesting that the Earth was round rather than a flat horizontal two-dimensional thing. Some of them first suggested that the Earth was more like a cylinder with what we would think of as then the surface of the Earth being the top of the cylinder, and then the cylinder then just almost kind of like the multiple turtles theory. That the Earth rested on the back of a giant turtle. Well, instead of that, it would be like a cylinder. And it would be the same. Yeah. Well, what's that? The turtle theory or the cylinder theory?
We're on a big turtle.
That's right. Like, well, and then what's underneath that turtle? Well, there's another turtle. It's turtles all the way down.
Yep.
But they looked at the sun and the moon and saw that they were disks, so they thought that maybe that they were cylinders as well. And for a while, they suggested that like maybe the Earth and the sun and the moon were not spheres but circles, still flat but circular in shape. Then revolving around in the in the sky. But eventually, they started coming up with the idea that the Earth, I think it was like starting maybe around 150 BC, which, that's, you think about that, that's quite a long time ago, that the Earth was actually a sphere and that it was separated with four continents, two in the northern area and then two in the southern area. And what was hard for a lot of these, ancient philosophers and scientists to understand is how there could be anybody living on the southern hemisphere of the planet, because their concept was that anybody underneath, they'd be upside down. Kind of like when you were a kid. You'd think about Australia. Australia, used to be supposed to be underneath the planets, and that they were walking around upside down. So the ancient Greeks, that was a conundrum for them. They could not conceive that if the Earth was a sphere, how could people be underneath the sphere? They what did they call it? They called it the antipodes, Antipodes, and that part of the world was unreachable, because there was the torrid zone at the equator.
Right. We would fall off the planet if the Earth was round.
Right, exactly. So they thought that the Earth was round, but that anybody living on it, they were living on top, on the top part of the sphere, with like the North Pole, the Arctic, northern Arctic regions at the very top. So, but a lot of people think that like the early Christians believed in the flat Earth, and that's not true. It seems like that into early Christianity and into the early Middle Ages, that it was pretty much generally accepted that the Earth was round, and mostly because, well, the sun was round and the moon was round, so why would the Earth be different? That was kind of the attitude. Now there were churches that would preach about the what they call it in the Bible, like the four corners of the world, and they would say that, well, this is proof that the Earth was actually more like a rectangle, and a flat one at that. But most the majority of the educated believed that the Earth was round, and it's a completely it's completely fake. Yeah, I know that when I was in school, they taught us that Christopher Columbus's crew was on the verge of mutiny, because they believed that they were going, if they went too far, that they were going to go and fall off the edge of the Earth, and that's just completely false. If anybody accepted the reality of a round or a spherical planet, Earth, it would be sailors. Because they would see firsthand as they would travel out to sea, how the curvature of the Earth would make things disappear over the horizon. They could say, like they could see like a lighthouse or a mountain or something like that, and as further away they got, they could actually see it, slowly sinking down the horizon. So, most sailors, they were well aware that the Earth was round. The debate was on the size of the planet. A lot of people back then thought that Earth was a lot smaller than it actually was. So, as well, there was the discovery and translation of Islamic science, especially Islamic astronomy. By the 11th century, Europe was in the process of starting to have a lot more contact with Islamic astronomy, and the early Islam, their scientific discoveries were just absolutely amazing. It's really a shame that you see nowadays, especially with Islam and Christianity as well, the abandonment of science, unlike how they used to be. It's almost nowadays that that these religions are entering a new dark ages compared to how they used to be, back in the 11th and 12th centuries, especially. But Islamic astronomy was absolutely superior to European astronomy for quite a long time, and they. It was taken for granted, considering how the shadow of the Earth would go across the surface of the moon.
Right.
That pretty much convinced them that the Earth was a sphere. But still, that there's always some holdouts, who never accepted the fact that A, the Earth was not the center of the universe, and that B, that it wasn't flat, and that the universe was actually just like an inverted bowl on top of the planet, on top of Earth. Mm-hmm. And that the sun and the moon were only actually like maybe 30 miles up in the air or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was believed, but and I think a lot of the flat earthers, some of the more hardcore ones still believe that today.
Yep.
That
that is what they believe. I mean, the one guy even admitted the other night that he believes that it's black magic and the Illuminati and Satan basically and holographic technology. So
holographic technology, huh? That's pretty amazing. I mean, considering photographs and other evidence that came about long before there was holographic technology.
Mm-hmm. Aliens, I think he said too. So I mean, we're basically living in the Truman Show, except it's not a dome; it's just a hologram.
Just a hologram, huh?
Yeah.
Well, and to me, what's scary is that there are people who will read this stuff or watch these documentaries, and they're like, that sounds right to me. It's it makes sense. It's all the devil.
And that's, I guess, another thing where it's kind of somewhat excusable because, I mean, the government, they have lied about so much. I mean, most people are at the point where whatever they say, we're just going to believe the opposite. So, I mean, and that's the flat earthers' biggest argument. NASA is a hoax. So,
yeah. And because NASA does lie to us, here and there, they're just assuming that everything that NASA says is a complete lie.
Right. I'll go as far as saying, NASA's the one starting these rumors.
That's what I heard.
And
it's
I
also heard that. Yeah, I also heard that it was that the rumor was actually started by NASA.
Yeah, to discredit people. It's like the one card they're waiting to play, just in case. So I suspect at one point in time, they're just going to, once things get really bad, they're going to make a documentary focusing on the flat earthers.
Mm-hmm. Well, exactly. They want the focus there. They don't want the focus of what did you see in space? What did you see on the moon? They don't like to talk about that.
Oh, well, I mean, even them, I mean, the astronauts are obviously lying. Yeah. I mean, they're not telling the truth. I mean, they didn't go to the moon or spend months in orbit around the planet. They're just lying. So I mean, face it. No matter what anybody would say or offer up as evidence, it's not going to be convincing, especially when you start bringing a religion and a satanic plot and that sort of thing. I mean, that you bring those to the table, and everything and nothing that is offered up in opposition will ever be convincing, because you're of the devil too.
Yep.
Or you're just a secular humanist atheist, and I bet you go home and eat babies in front of a temple of Baphomet.
Yep. Paid shill. Yep.
Yeah. So it's just what's the saying? It's no use trying to teach a pig to sing, because you'll just frustrate yourself and make the pig angry.
Yep. Yep. No, that's the way it is, though.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, anybody who has flown and has got up, at the peak altitude of most airliners, You know, I mean, you can see on a clear day that, you know, the horizon dips away. I mean, that, you know, that you are looking at a ball. Of course, then again, you know, someone says, oh, well, it's just an optical illusion, you know.
Yeah.
You know, so once again, I mean, you know, even people's personal experience would not be convincing enough when confronted by somebody who is charismatic enough, or is, you know, just would just, you know, like shout down any kind of opposition, or block you. You know, just shut down the conversation. You know, like, well, you're wrong, so we're just not going to talk to you.
Yeah. That's the way it goes.
That is what happened. We have we got some people calling in. Let's take a caller here. Yeah, connect them. Hello, caller.
Caller, we hope you're a flat earther, and if you're not, please be fast, because we have other callers and we want to get back to our guest.
What?
Hello? Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, I have a few questions.
How can we help you?
I don't know. I was looking for an answer.
Oh, yes.
What was your question?
Sure. By all means, ask away.
What's your question? Yeah, please.
You're live on the air, dude. You have our attention.
And they hung up.
Wow. Okay. That was Flat Earther number 1. Let's go to Flat Earther number 2.
I don't know. I think Flat Earthers don't exist, Jeff. I don't care what you say. They don't exist.
They very probably exist. They exist.
Let's try another one. Hello, caller.
Hey, what's going on?
You don't sound like a flat earther.
Let's go, mate.
Well, I'm not a flat earther. I actually called you guys about the NASA guy spreading the hoax about the flat Earth. But I did some more digging, and because I was really interested in why these people believe this so much. And, you know, it's very interesting. A commercial you guys played earlier talked about the mathematics and measuring the shadows and everything. It turns out that a lot of people believed the Earth was flat back in the day because you can use that same exact method, and it works out if the sun happens to be like 20 miles up and 5 miles in diameter. So, you know, that's one of the big reasons there why I think a lot of these people believe in this so much is because there's mathematics behind it to kind of prove it. You know, I'm not a flat earther like I told you guys last time by any means, but it is interesting how many people there are, and I was reading a lot of the comments and stuff that you guys were writing on Facebook, and there is a lot of people out there that believe this, even more than I thought. Like, I couldn't believe how many people actually do believe this, so I think it just goes to show even more that there's definitely money behind pushing this, and
I agree.
You know, there is a lot of facts out there, like we talked about. You can't see anything above the 80th parallel, so none of us talking right now have ever seen a real picture of what it looks like at the top of the Earth and the bottom of the Earth.
So let me interrupt you.
That's classified.
Because I have a question.
Yeah.
You said the math makes sense if the sun is 5 miles across and 20 miles up?
It works out something like that. Yeah, you can find it on Google.
How is that possible?
Weird.
Because the circumference of the planet is about 20,000 miles.
Well, that's what it works out like if the math ends up working out like if you had it as if it was on a flat surface and the sun was about 20 miles up and 5 miles across. It ends up working out the same. I wish honestly I knew you guys were doing a flat Earth thing because I would have had the exact numbers for you. But you can Google search that. That's where a lot of these people I think are really on board with this because they're like, oh my God, the math, you know, that whole thing isn't true about the math because the math does kind of work out both ways. So it is rather interesting on that. If any of you guys have a laptop in front of you, I'm sure you can Google search it and find it. It's in one of those guys' videos, but you know they are hardcore about it, and I'm telling you,
they are.
I think a lot of it has to do with the simple fact that A, you can't see a photograph of the North or the South Pole, so that really pushes the whole Antarctic thing, you know, and then B, the whole NASA thing. You know, NASA does lie to us a lot. I think, like, you know, probably 50% of what they tell us is lies. So,
Mike, the thing I have to cut you off there because a lot of the flat earthers say there are no pictures of Earth from space. There's only there's only one. There's hundreds of thousands of pictures, and there's thousands of videos.
Here's what kills them. Here's the thing about that is the major photos that you'll find in all the encyclopedias and like the major photos you see of the Earth, they are really just, I think, 3 or 4 photographs where they've taken the clouds and inverted them and flipped them around. Now, I know there's other pictures of the Earth because I spent a shit ton of time searching to find out if there is, and there is, because I went on a quest to try and find pictures of the North and South Pole, and that's impossible. You can't find it. You won't find it. But as far as the Earth goes, there isn't a whole lot of real photos of the Earth, although there is, like you guys said, there is a lot of them. But there is a shit ton of the same photograph that they've rotated the clouds on and flipped the clouds on. And that's where these people come up with the whole, you can't see any pictures of the Earth, because if you do a quick Google search and you type in a picture of the Earth from space, you will find that photograph over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, that's what they say. That's paintings and whatnot.
Yeah, you have to go to, like...
I don't buy it. I mean, I have a video here.
You have to go to the ESU site and stuff like that, and you can find other photographs of the Earth, but it's still, a lot of them look kooky and stuff, and, you know, I believe the Earth is round.
Yeah, I mean, it 100% is. I have a video here of an astronomer, an amateur astronomer, and his son. They make their own space balloon. They fly it up 90,000 feet, and you can clearly see the curvature of the Earth. I mean, you would think that alone would settle the debate. Yeah.
Well, then they'll tell you it's a fisheye lens. But then you have to find out, is it really a fisheye lens?
It's a lens from an iPhone.
Okay, well, then that's not a fisheye lens, so there you go. Well, why don't they have that on their video?
They show it on the video. They show it's all like just, they use styrofoam, a big balloon, and a few things, glove warmers to keep the thing warm while it's up there.
And does it show a curvature?
Oh, yeah. In the video, yeah. It's the Earth is curved.
Well, then what are they complaining about?
Exactly.
Oh, well, how do they? Well, what do they say to debunk that video?
Dude, they ignore it, man.
Yeah, obviously this guy and his son are disinformation agents.
Yeah,
they must be shills. They're NASA shills.
It's Hollywood. They're using CGI to perpetuate the myth.
Well, I mean, you know, here's the big question. I mean, really, your guest on sounds really educated, and he sounds like a really smart guy. And I especially love what he says about don't believe anything, because my whole life, I was lucky enough to be brought up with family that have had jobs and weird things. So I've seen a lot of weird stuff, and you know, someday maybe I'll be able to talk about a lot of it. But I always knew not to believe anything that you're told. You know, don't believe anything, because a wise man says only a fool is certain of anything. And what we know 5 minutes from now will be completely different 7 minutes from now. And, you know, another interesting thing that your caller might know is that the scientific method, you can run an experiment 10,000 times, and one time out of that 10,000 times, even if you keep everything the same, all the variables and controls and constants the same, you'll yield a different result, and no one knows why. It's just one of those things. And the laws of aerodynamics and the laws of physics say that bumblebees can't fly, you know, but yet they do fly. And we built some amazing aircraft learning about bumblebees, believe it or not. Some really cool stuff. But the question I had for your caller is, what do you think NASA is, for your guest, I'm sorry, what do you think NASA is hiding from us? We know they lie to us. We know they won't show us photos of the North or the South Pole. A lot of the stuff they show us is just paintings and doctored. There's stuff all over the moon. Everything's blacked out. From your research and everything, what do you think NASA is hiding from us? Like, what's the big picture? What's the real truth about what we live on? You know, what are they hiding? What's your opinion?
Well, I don't think that it's NASA per se that's hiding stuff from us, but I mean, I think that there's probably a number of different factors going on. Because face it, I mean, NASA gets their money from the government and taxpayers and military intelligence services and things like that. So I mean, you've got a lot of people with their fingers in the pie there. So I mean, there is all kinds of different things that NASA has been forced to hide, and I'll give you a perfect example. I mean, it may not be as satisfactory as saying that NASA's hiding the polar openings that'll lead to the hollow Earth.
Hollow Earth,
at the north and south. Well, right. But the first American space station, what was that, Skylab, they accidentally took pictures of Area 51, and NASA accidentally released them. They had no idea that this was a top secret facility, and the CIA just about shit a brick when this happened. And they immediately had NASA pull those pictures from the I don't want to say the public domain, but however they have they released these, they immediately had them redact those photographs, but it was too late. I mean, they had already gotten out to a certain extent. So they just kind of had to, back up really quickly and grab whatever copies they could. But see, now that's a perfect example of something that was covered up for at that time. Nobody had any idea why. I mean, this was just an area in Nevada. I mean, everybody knew. I mean, for a long time. I mean, this was an area that they tested atomic weapons, especially back in the in the 1950s. So why would this area just a little bit north of that be forbidden to take pictures of? Nobody knew. There was a good reason. There was this top secret, military intelligence base there.
Yeah,
So,
that's interesting to hear, and it kind of lets you know that they make mistakes too.
Oh, they always make mistakes. How do you think we catch them in all these conspiracies? If they didn't make mistakes, none of us would be asking these questions.
Well, dude,
exactly. But see, that's I mean, when it comes to like the North and South Pole, there's probably, or the Arctic and the Antarctic regions, there's probably a number of different reasons from different sources on why certain areas, the photographs aren't supposed to be released. Probably most of them, military insignificance.
Well, the Department of Defense deemed those photos classified because they said that other nations would use the NASA photos to program ICBMs to launch them at the United States. I mean, that doesn't sound right. Do you think Russia's going to use NASA to program their ICBMs? Come on,
I mean, no. See, and going back to the accidental photographs of Area 51. Heck, the Soviet Union knew that Area 51 was there a long time ago.
Yep.
So that's silly to say that some other country could use NASA photographs, to program ICBMs.
well, hey, that's what the Department of Defense tells us. Maybe that's why we're so skeptical. People are retarded nowadays. But it's honest. What do I want to say? It's to the point now where people will look for anything because they don't know what to believe. I mean, people are just lied to so much every day that it comes to the point where if you've got a halfway decent video, you could probably convince people that we're going to be attacked by monkeys shooting lasers coming from outer space. I mean, you probably get a lot of people to believe that's going to happen if you get a good enough YouTube video put together. But the whole flat Earth thing, like I said, I really think that guy from that YouTube channel called the NASA channel, I think he is a tool, of those people to push this propaganda for whatever reason. You know, I mean, like you guys said, maybe to make truthers look crazy. Maybe they want people thinking other things about what's going on at the poll. But from seeing those comments, and I'm telling you, I've been into researching this stuff for over a decade. I was on YouTube and had a YouTube channel before there was even advertisements on that thing, like back in '07, and I never saw anything about the flat Earth. I had never heard such craziness, and now today, people believe it. Like a ton of people. I mean, they argue it to death, and they just post the same videos over and over. And then, like you guys say, you post a video of a amateur guy like you or I that throws a balloon up with an iPhone that does not have a fisheye lens, and no one even says anything about it. They just throw it out the window. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yep.
But I want to thank you guys for taking my call. I'm gonna let you go, but I love your show, and thanks a lot to the guests you have on.
Yeah, man.
Man. Nice
thanks for calling in. Thanks for listening. We appreciate it.
I want you guys to get some flat earthers. I want to hear some legitimate flat earth people call up.
Yes, need them to call in.
If you guys get some flat earthers call up, and I'm listening, I'll call back because I have real questions for people that believe this. Because there's got to be people out there that I know if you're listening, you're a flat earther. Don't think you're dumb just because these guys will hammer on you or whatever. Because believe me, I've gone through periods of research where I believed in some pretty wild conspiracies and spent a long time researching it, only to find out it was bullshit or pushed by some company or pushed by somebody, which I'm not even going to get into. So please call up. I want to hear why you legitimately believe this. I want to hear it. I don't think you're crazy.
And for the record,
why who's behind it?
Caller, I thought you were a flat earther up until the end. And just so you know, just as an example, we treated him with respect, and we will treat you with respect too if you call in. So please call in, yes.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. Have a good night.
Yep. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, I knew he wasn't a flat earther.
How do you know? Dude, he sounded like one to me.
He called in. He called in the last. Was it the last show? We talked about this.
Oh, really? Was that the dude that? Okay. All right. Yeah, he was cool. All right. Yeah.
Well, I wonder. I mean, do you really think that there are actually people out there who do believe, that the Earth is flat? I mean, seriously, or do you think that maybe that a majority of these people that you see, like commenting on YouTube and stuff like that, are just on there just because these are the same trolls that get on and would argue about anything?
Dude.
Somebody say, I like Coca-Cola. It's like, oh, well, screw you. Coca-Cola doesn't, I mean, they'd argue about, no matter what you say.
I have a good friend who actually believes the Earth is flat.
Well, right. I have, I have a lot of friends on Facebook here that, that are, I don't know what word I would say awake, but I guess I can't use the word awake now because they believe in the flat Earth. So, but anyway, I mean, I've been friends with them on here for a while, and I've seen them talking about it and stuff, and I never got into it because I was like, I never took it seriously. Like, it wasn't even worth my time. And then I started seeing more people talk about it. And so I'm like, all right, you know what? I was like sitting here one night, and I'm like, okay, man, I'm in the conspiracy mood. I'll check it out. So I watched the documentary, this Eric Dubé's documentary. And like I said earlier, I got about halfway through it, and I turned it off because, I mean, it was funny. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, like, so look, I know that they believe in it. They're not the people that like are telling us this. They believe in it, and they got so mad. They got so mad that they blocked me or unfriended me or whatever over this. I mean,
I knew this girl for 20 years.
Guy, came to my page and like he was calling me a shill because I believed the Earth was flat. I mean, he was sitting there just calling me a moron and all this stuff, and like he's posting all these. He's like, because I wrote an article about it, and I had put a couple of videos in it, and one of them was that clip that I had played earlier from Minute Physics on YouTube.
Right.
And I listed the top 10 reasons that they had in the video, and then he's like, I debunked this, and like what he sent me that he said he debunked it, didn't debunk it. Just because he thinks this doesn't mean that that's actually, I don't know, man. I'm starting to think this dude is just delusional, and he's like a little Pied Piper, and he's leading all these fools into slaughter. You know what I mean? Like,
or maybe he just needs to sober up.
It's something.
Lay off the chronic for a little while. You know?
Yeah, I can't blame that though. I can't blame that on it because I would say some harder drugs, meth or crack or something maybe.
Well, I'm just curious as to their other beliefs. Whether or not they also believe in, like creationism, and that, that the Earth is only 6,000 years old, and that, Noah's the great flood of Noah's Ark was what wiped the dinosaurs away, and things like that. And
in other words,
well, I don't want to pigeonhole people like that. But I have found, in like my research over the years that people like that tend to run into kind of like the same circles, and that we're hearing more and more about these kind of extreme anti-science religious beliefs. But then again, on the other hand, we read more and more about the science, anti-religious or anti-spiritualist beliefs. So we've got the two different sides, like the extreme atheistic scientists, and then the extreme fundamentalists, on the other side. And I think it's no wonder that a lot of people out there get confused, who really aren't, they're kind of like the silent majority, so to speak. Both sides seem to be a little nutty to most people. But I have found that like a lot of these people who do believe in the whole 6,000-year-old Earth, and that or even more extreme, that the Earth is the center of the universe. It may not be flat, but it's a sphere, but it's in the center of the universe. That God created the Earth to be the center of everything. And there was a documentary that came out not too long ago that was its thesis, and the producers actually got some fairly famous actors to narrate it under false pretenses. And I can't think of the one actress's name. She played Captain Janeway on Star Trek. Was it Star Trek Voyager? I can't think of her the actress's name now. But the producers got her to narrate it without revealing the context of the documentary. And then when it came out, she was just like, "What the?"
Oops.
Because they had the people who did the narration just narrate certain sections of it.
Right.
And then
of course,
and then the parts where they actually talked about how the Earth was actually scientific proof that the Earth is actually the center of the universe. The sun, the moon, everything revolves around our planet, the galaxies. Yeah. that came out sometime like early last year. I can't remember what the title of it was, so I'll have to look for that. But that's along the same lines though as the whole flat Earth concept. because if you think about it, though, if you believe in the flat Earth, then you basically are accepting the fact that God created the universe just for us.
Mm-hmm.
That the Earth, flat or whatever, is the center of everything, and the sky is just like you were saying,
everything
like a Truman Show.
Everything's rotating around the Earth. I mean,
right. Yeah. People are so great. The sun revolves around our butts. So. And that's basically the same concept that they're going with here. That even though that I don't know. I've seen. I haven't seen all of these YouTube videos that you have referenced in your earlier part of the show. So I don't know if anybody has actually come right out and said that. Even though I know you said that the dissenting viewpoints that the Earth is actually round and that we're in the middle of we're just in the suburbs of the Milky Way galaxy is actually a plot by Satan to fool us all.
Yep. And if you admit that the Earth is round, you lose your soul.
Right. So are these people who are who are accepting the reality of the Earth being flat and that the sky is just basically a dome over us? Are they coming out and saying, well, we're saying this because we know that God made mankind, that the universe is, mankind's domain exclusively. There's nothing else. It's just us.
I suspect that's definitely an influence.
Has anybody said that?
No one has said it directly, except what the guy said the other night, that it's black magic and the devil. But I suspect that's why. That it's rooted in their beliefs to the point. This is religion. This is crazy.
Yeah. Well, I really wish that one of these believers would come on and explain this to us. Because I would. Like,
I know. Well, nobody will call in. There's probably a reason for that. They don't want to talk to somebody. Where you can sit there and argue with somebody on Facebook. You know what I mean? It's a little different than actually talking to them face to face or on the phone. Because you got to come up with those answers right then. Facebook, you can sit there and ponder on it. You can Google stuff and come up with all the stuff. But on a radio show, face to face, you can't do that, and that's why we have issues with people like this because they won't call in because they have nothing to back it up. And
they never did. They just give you videos and they
copy and paste.
We're being aggressive. I say call in, man. It's all right.
Well, I'm going to get aggressive if you call me a shit. But anyway.
Well, maybe we are. Maybe we're unsuspecting shills. For the Illuminati conspiracy that wants to keep secrets.
We're all making the big bucks. You guys just don't know.
Now, in 6 months, what we just said is going to be on another Flat Earth documentary. And it's going to start off that way. It's going to start off on a documentary, dude. I'm telling you.
Well, I'll tell you, I wish somebody would give me my PIN number for that. For that amount they're supposedly paying me to be that shill, because I ain't seeing none of it. Right. Where's my money?
I haven't seen my money yet, so until I get that money, stop calling me a shill. Start getting that money, then you call me a shill.
No, you're doing this radio show from a condo. Don't lie.
You guys should see my studio, man. It's just decked right out. I'm still running my 8-year-old laptop, just waiting for it to die.
He's got a half a dozen children locked up and chained in his basement.
Using the neighbor's Wi-Fi.
They're turning a big wheel actually to generate the electricity to keep the computer going.
Yes.
We have access to those free energy devices because we're on the inside.
That's right.
Yes, we have all of Tesla's information that was taken from his apartment. We know it all.
Man, it was me that killed Tupac.
Yeah. But anyway, it is 10:35. We have another guest coming on tonight. We have a physicist coming on, Tim. So this next part should be pretty good too.
Right. Yeah, that'd be great.
I figured it would be perfect to get you on, go over the stuff that we all went over, and then after we have you on, have a physicist on and try to. Like I said, I still kind of feel stupid for trying to give him the attention to this, like it's a big deal. But like Jeff said, it's like a fire, and a fire is going to start off small, and it's eventually going to spread. And if you don't put it out, it's going to spread, and it's going to spread, and it's just going to, it's just like the fake news sites. I'm trying to knock that, I'm trying to get that shit knocked out. You know what I mean? I know I'm doing what I can, but I don't know if it's going to do any good or whatever. But
stupid is very contagious.
Oh, I like that. It's true though, and especially in this day and age when, like you said, I mean, you can present all kinds of evidence on YouTube or whatever, and there'll be a load of people out there who will believe it, and and nothing that you will say to the otherwise will dissuade their belief system.
Yeah, if you just keep like watching YouTube, you know what? I'll admit it. It's happened to me before. I've done it, and we've all done it. I'm sure we've all done it. We've all watched something, so much and actually started to believe it. I mean, it happens. If you think about something, so much and you etch it into your head so much, you might start to believe it. But the thing with this is it's been disproven. There's plenty of evidence to back it up. The round Earth, plenty of evidence to back it up. And
well, I mean, I am a proponent of having an open mind. I mean that's what all this is what it's all about. Have an open mind, but not so open that your brains fall out.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
Right. I mean, have a little common sense.
Yeah.
I mean, but I mean, don't do your own research, make up your own minds. I mean, and if everything said and done, after all your research and everything, that you still believe that that the Earth is flat and that we're at the center of the universe, and that Jesus rode a dinosaur, then go for it. But don't get upset when people call you a freaking crazy loser. And tell you to go back living in your mom's basement. I mean, if you're going to have the Cuervos to believe in this stuff, then you better have them to defend yourself and not get your panties in a bunch and start blocking everybody or just absolutely refusing to listen to what anybody else has to say.
Exactly.
If you made up your mind, well then suck it up and take it. I mean, we all have with the stuff that we talk about.
Absolutely. All right, we're coming to break. So, Tim, thank you for coming on. Glad that you came on to talk about this. I'm glad that I chose you to come on for this first part of it. You were the perfect guy to have on for this. So,
Hey, my pleasure. And and if you do get somebody who comes on sometime that wants to, that's a flat Earth believer and wants to talk about it, bring me back. I want to talk to him.